Hey guys, today is Friday the 20th of March. I am Adam xefour and this is an old friend of mine, Luke. And today, welcome to the first episode of the xefour Show. Hey guys, welcome to the first episode of the xefour Show. I'm looking to introduce a new format to the show here, just more of an opinion where we can have a discussion about what we find relevant and what we find interesting, and hopefully you guys will also find it interesting. So, shall we get started?
Let's do it.
Cool. First of all, I wanted to discuss a personal topic of mine. So, it's more or less how the market reacts to Apple. So, from my experience, it just seems that there are a lot of copycats out there with the whole Samsung and Apple thing that happened in all the court cases. I just want to bring something to light that I don't think a lot of people realize, is that wind back the clock, say 6 years ago before smart TVs came out. There were no smart TVs, and all of a sudden there were reports that Apple was bringing out a smart TV. So a smart TV set with all these brains, and there was all these rumors about it. And then all of a sudden you notice this influx of TVs. Companies like Samsung and LG and Sony all reacted to this, and they all started bringing out these new smart TVs with all this stuff we really don't want. Like, I've recently bought a new 4K Sony smart TV, and I don't use any of the smart features on it. It's just padding, it's fluff. I don't need it. I just want a dumb TV. I want to plug my own box into it, and I want to be done with it.
I think most people want that, don't they?
Yeah, I think so too, and that's just the general consumer consensus from what I've found. But what I want to get at is just, it seems like the market just is so reactive to Apple, and people discount Apple and don't realize the effect that they've had when it comes to smart TVs, watches. Like, even before all the Android watches that are out at the moment, Apple, there was rumors of Apple having a smartwatch. And once these rumors came to life, you know, all of a sudden 6 months later you see Samsung, LG, all these other companies, I can't think of them right now, that have brought out all these half-ass watches that I think are terrible. I don't think that have any decent functionality. They're all copycats. There's all compromises and stuff like that. And I just want to bring to life that people need to realize that a lot of the reason why we are where we are technologically is because of Apple. You go back even pre-iPhone, and now I know I sound like a complete Apple fanboy right now. And
You do sometimes.
Yeah, no, and I am. I'm a complete Apple fanboy, and I'm totally happy to admit that, but I'd like to also admit that with decent reasoning and logic behind my thoughts. So, pre-iPhone, there was nothing out there. There was no phone that you could, well, there were phones you could browse the internet on, but nothing with a full-fledged internet browser where it was, you know, inertia scrolling and things like that. Then the iPhone came out, then all of a sudden an influx of all these new phones come out, and it's the same with the rumors of the television, and it's the same with the watch, and it's the same for the whatever is forthcoming from them. And I know I sound like I'm rambling on now, right? But it's just something I want to bring to light, and I want people to realize, is that it's just, there's so much of the market that is influenced by Apple, and I find it fascinating that people like to discount Apple so much, especially when it comes to their innovation and things like that.
When they do lead the pack.
Exactly.
And then, yeah.
They do. They lead the pack, and they have the best stuff. Yeah, you're going to pay a premium for it, but they have wicked stuff. It's good quality. They have great warranty. They have awesome customer service.
And they look great.
They look great.
That's a lot of the, you know, the selling feature for a lot of people, I think, is how they look.
Yeah,
you know?
and you look at, you know, the MacBook Air, and how many clones of a MacBook Air are out there now? It's ridiculous.
True.
And then even the latest Samsung S6, that is a straight up clone of an iPhone 6. Everything about it, the whole form factor has just been ripped off.
I mean, I think apps in general, that was an iPhone thing to begin with, was it not? Like the whole idea of compartmentalized apps and
exactly. And that's the funny thing. Like, if you really want to get technical, like, there were technically apps on other platforms before Apple, but it was nothing to what it is today, like what Apple made it. You know, like, if you want to even get more technical, before the iPad, Microsoft had their own tablet devices out there, but it was, you know, it wasn't the same as what the iPad was, and the iPad basically brought it to the mainstreams. So, you know, I think people tend to forget that, you know. But anyway, that's my rant about that. Moving on to the next topic, I want to bring up something which I think is completely insane.
Yeah, this is a good one.
Yeah, it's the new Apple Force Touch trackpad on the new computers. So Apple's brought out this wonderful technology on all their new MacBooks and things like that, and it's essentially a new trackpad which doesn't actually have a physical click in it. It's actually a device underneath which is giving you a feedback which makes you believe it's a real click, but it just enables a bit more functionality which you couldn't get on the existing technology. And in my mind, I heard that and I thought, great technology, it's awesome, and you know, it's something cool and innovative. But then all of a sudden I hear these reports of these people whinging online that they find this name offensive.
Yeah, like, just repeat the name for us again, Adam. What is it? The forced touch. So the implication being that you're forcing yourself on or something like that. The connotations, right? Right.
Like, in my opinion, people need to find something better to do.
That's a bit of a overreaction, I think. I mean,
it's incredible.
Yeah, with all due respect, I mean, you know, that's a very important and significant issue in society. But I think blaming Apple for, or not blaming them, but you know, it's the name of a product. Yeah. It's not a political statement, or it's not a, you know.
Exactly. I just think people are a little bit too sensitive these days. Like, there are so many more important things that we need to worry about and things that we need to be concerned about, let alone Apple naming a trackpad Force Touch. And there are a whole bunch of sensitive people out there going, I find that offensive because, you know, someone might force touch me or has force touched me. You know, while that's a delicate subject and I completely see it, I just think people are being a little bit too sensitive. I don't know, call me insensitive. I just think that's it's a bit of a funny one, but anyway, moving on. Another thing I wanted to talk about, I know we've kind of stuck on the Apple thing, and you will notice in a lot of the forthcoming videos, I will discuss a lot of Apple stuff because I'm very passionate about Apple, but yeah, the next one leading on is the Apple Watch. So this device,
a lot of buzz about this.
I'm so pumped to get an Apple Watch, and what do you think of the watch?
Look, like we said before, Apple are usually leading the pack when it comes to this type of technology. And you know, it's going to be, well, it's already happened, hasn't it? Yeah. That everyone's already jumped on board. You've got the Gear, you've got, you know, a whole, you know, a stack of smartwatches out there. But are they going to do it right? Like, I think that's really the big question that everyone's thinking. But
yeah, in my opinion, you know, I tend to be a bit of an optimist when it comes to Apple, but with good reason. I think Apple is going to succeed where everyone else failed, simply because, touching on what I initially spoke about, is that when the Apple Watch rumors initially came out, a lot of other companies, you know, caught wind of that and jumped the gun and brought out their Me Too products. You know, I'm also doing this, and they were rushed. They had, you know, sacrifices and things that weren't completely finished.
I think battery life was a big deal with a lot of them.
And I think it was the Moto 360, which had a circular face, but the bottom of the circle actually had a black band because they couldn't complete the screen the way they wanted. So there was some definitely
disappointing little features like that really make or break a product. But
and I think in terms of sales, Apple's going to win because, or Apple's going to do very well rather, because of people like me, and I'll just gobble up anything they throw at me. I'm just like that. I like to be, I'm an early adopter. I'm pretty sure you were at some point, and you still are an early adopter. Like, you like
definitely,
to get on,
I get on board when when the product is, you know, it's got merit and you know it's gonna.
Hell yeah.
You know, why not?
if you like technology and you have a passion for it, like most people I know are early adopters. You know, we want to have the latest gear, and you know, there's also a second-hand market. If you buy the latest gear every year, you can sell that stuff after the yearly life cycle and only take a minimal hit because Apple products just basically
hold their value.
And then with a small bump every year, you can keep the latest stuff up to date, which is what I personally do anyway.
That seems like that's a good method.
Yeah, but I just think the Apple Watch will succeed because, you know, they have the right people behind it, the right hires they did. If you're interested, go look into it. They hired the Burberry CEO, which is now working for Apple, and a bunch of other people who were in the industry and fashion and watch industry, and they've got the right people behind it. They're putting it on the right angle, and people are freaking out. I'm freaking out. That I think the most expensive one was $24,000.
Yeah, I heard about that one. That's a bit out of my price range, but
look, if I had that kind of money, I definitely wouldn't spend that much on it. I guess it's interesting because it is technology, but then you have to separate that from your mindset and think about it. It's also gold. So, you know,
People wear a gold Rolex.
Yeah, and the thing is, you know, technology will depreciate in value over the years, and then where does that leave the pricing of the watch? So it's a new territory. You know, it's really a new territory. Apple have stepped into so many new territories with the iPhone, with the App Store, with iPods, iPad, all this stuff. They've always stepped into new territories, and they seem to come out on top. They know
Well, it
what
seems
they're
like wearable technologies, you know, that's going to be a huge market in the next couple of years. So
yeah, I think coming to the next, say, 5 to 10 years, I think everyone is going to have some sort of wearable device, whether it's a watch or a ring or a necklace or, you know, God knows.
Well, you just hope it doesn't get too invasive, though. I guess. Like, I think that is definitely a concern for a lot of people. That where does it end? Like,
well, what the scary thing is, I've actually seen stuff, and it's just ridiculous. But where they actually implant things into your skin, and I think that's just a whole of
you want to be able to take it off at night, don't you?
In theory, it sounds great. Like, you know, you don't have to have any technology or like carry anything, but it's just not natural. For me personally, who knows what the future will bring.
Cybernetics.
Maybe when we're dead, things will be very different. But you know, that's a whole another kettle of fish. Moving forward, I do have another topic I wanted to discuss, which was a lot of people talk about the whole Samsung versus Apple thing, and
hotly debated issue.
Yeah. And while we're not going to completely and directly dive on that particular topic, I just want to have a conversation with you guys about a conversation I've had recently with a friend of mine. So a friend of mine recently came up to me, and you know, he was trying to troll me or whatever, and he was like, oh, you know, Samsung rocks, it's better than Apple, and blah 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 blah. And you know, like, okay, I went into the conversation, and it got heated, and it was all good troll and ha 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 whatever. But it was just interesting because at the end of the conversation, when I walked away and I was thinking about it, I was thinking it's ridiculous how it's gotten to the point where it's Apple versus Samsung. Like, it's really iOS versus Android, because the reason why I'm saying I think Samsung users are more brainwashed than Apple users is the fact that they're not defending their platform, which is what they should be doing. They should be saying Android is better than iOS. They're defending Samsung, which I find to be ridiculous. Because if you think about it, when the Android platform has much better devices, in my opinion, than Samsung. You can look at the LG G3. I think there's the fourth.
Great build quality on the
awesome.
LG, definitely.
Like, awesome device, slim profile.
HTC.
Yeah, another great device. You know, it's got the full aluminium body. It's got a great camera. It's fast. It doesn't come with the touch whiz, all the bloatware that Samsung throw in it. I just think it's crazy why people are like so patriotic about Samsung, because it also shows you another perspective where how effective Samsung have been in their marketing, because Samsung have effectively like brushed all these competitors aside and basically taken Android as their own. So people don't realize it's actually Google, Android versus iOS and Apple. They've just basically manipulated the market so well that people either think it's Samsung or versus Apple. Like, it's incredible when you think
It is incredible. I mean, that isn't to say that Apple doesn't have its fanboys as well, right? I mean, it's...
I'll put my hand up all day, yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's an interesting point you raised, definitely.
Absolutely. Yeah, so it's one of those things I find incredible when I do engage in those conversations, which I try not to, because I really do, like, people know me, they know I get pumped up, and they know I'll just start pumping out information. I've always got an answer for everything. Well, I like to think I do. And yeah, it's just one of those things, I guess. I find it just incredible how, you know, it's become manipulated like that, and it also shows you how the Samsung marketing machine has done quite well to actually get it to that point.
It's true.
You know, so in this day and age of internet and technology, it's just, it's really smart to see how they've done it and almost blinded people, blinded the internet to look at it from that perspective. Now, like, talking about the internet, as one sensitive topic I wanted to bring up, and it was, I'd like to call it The Internet Will Find You. So I've been looking over all these news topics that have been coming up about, you know, public racism, you know, all these things where it's just shameful public acts that people do to another person.
There's been a lot in the news lately, hasn't there?
Right.
Yeah,
it's disgusting.
definitely.
You know, just pointless racism or bashings or just drunk people. You know, like king hitting people, and like all these new laws have been brought into place, and like as much as that's disgusting, I just think, are people that ignorant that they don't think the internet will find you? If you're a person out in public, like you gotta remember, there's cameras everywhere. Like I ride with a camera on my helmet when I ride my bike for insurance, and you know, people are just that stupid. They don't realize you're on a public bus, you're on a train, you're anywhere. People got every person I know, every person in Australia has a mobile phone. That means every person has a video camera.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost like they're not just oblivious of it, but it's almost glorified. Some of these acts, you know, the friends will be videotaping somebody getting attacked on the bus or racially vilified, you know, on the trains or something, and they think it's funny. It's like, it's incredible that they think that they're going to get off scot-free. When in case, I mean, a lot of the time they don't get off scot-free.
Exactly.
That's very true. They've a few of the recent incidences in the past, of late, they've definitely been, you know, chased up. And
well, there was the two girls in Queensland. I remember they were on a bus, and then there was the recent one where there was an elderly lady on a Sydney train.
Yeah, that was a bad one.
An Asian girl, I think. And it's just incredible, like how some people are still so like bigots. They're just you know, racist. That whole topic aside, which is terrible, but what I'm getting at from the technology perspective is that with this day and age, with all this social media, the internet will find you there. People will discover you. You know, you do something wrong, there's a video of you online, and within days, maybe even less.
And once it's up there, it's up there for good. So
you have to be really mindful when you're doing, you know, Snapchats, even sending like, you know, personal things about yourself. You know, if this, you've got to really trust the people, or just even acting in public, you have to just be smart. And I guess it's great in a way because it's going to deter more people from doing terrible things. It might not change the person, but I just find it quite interesting that this is, you know, the internet will find you. People will catch you. You just have to be so aware of that, you know. It's quite interesting. But that aside, moving forward, so I remember a topic you brought up today, which was the what was it? The legislation about BitTorrent.
Yes. Apparently, the government's now looking at yet another way to curb piracy in Australia, and this method is, they've tried it in many countries around the world. I think in the UK they've done the same thing, but they're basically going to start blacklisting certain websites off our internet. I mean, our connection to the internet.
So is that like IP banning and things like that?
Yeah, so like, you know, popular sites that everyone uses, I don't know, probably shouldn't name them public, but you know, everyone knows where you get torrents from, for instance, but these sites are going to be basically blocked for Australian users. But I guess the big thing about it is that, you know, how effective is this method of blocking? Because, you know, anywhere you go, pretty much everyone knows how to get around and to circumvent these type of blocks. They're just completely ineffective. It's just yet another, you know, waste of time and money trying to fix a problem that I just don't think you can fix in this manner.
Yeah. It's an interesting point because we discussed this earlier, but the internet's a living organism. You have to think of it that way. Like, you find a path to, you know, point from A to B, and something breaks in between, it just finds another way to get there. And people neglect to realize that, you know, for example, Netflix, like that's coming to Australia shortly, but people have been using Netflix in the US from Australia using proxy sites and things like that.
VPNs.
That's just another way of circumventing, you know, geo-blocking and things like that that's in place. So I just don't understand, like I do understand why they're trying to do this and why they're putting the energy into it. But
well, apparently we're the biggest pirates in the world. Australia is like number one or number two.
That's another whole reason. Like,
you can understand why they're trying to.
Because Foxtel have a stronghold on all our content delivery. Like, for example, Game of Thrones, Foxtel paid a multi-million-dollar deal to make sure that they only get Game of Thrones. So if you want to watch Game of Thrones the day it comes out, you either got two options. You pay for Foxtel and you're not paying for the basic subscription. You're paying for the premium subscription just to watch Game of Thrones. Or
click.
you torrent. You know, and do they blame us? Like we have terrible content subscription services here. Like they're all, it's great to see Netflix coming here, but that's also crippled compared to the US. So that probably won't stop people subscribing to the US. We've got Presto, I think there's Foxtel Go, and then there's one or two others that are kind of coming out, which is good. It's like a great start to see us moving forward. But it's just, it's ridiculous to think that they can, or the government can block people from accessing certain things on the websites. If they would, in my opinion, if they would invest that energy into blocking all the, you know, the stuff coming from overseas that is, you know, corrupting people's minds in terms of like, you know, how we've got all that, which is a terrorism problem, or they call it the terrorism problem, blocking that kind of traffic. Why don't they invest the energy into blocking that kind of stuff?
But I guess the danger is then, where would it end? Like,
Exactly.
how do you know that? I mean, the government could just decide, we don't want you to access this or that, and they'll, you know, give good justification for it, but who really knows?
Exactly.
Like, they could be blocking. I think censorship is just, I don't know, it's a
doesn't
touchy
work.
subject, but it doesn't seem very effective when you really want something, there's a way to get it. What's the point?
And all it takes is one tech-savvy person to figure out how to circumvent whatever they've put in place, and then he'll just monetize that, and he'll make a crap ton of money off that, or even just, a lot of people just put it out for free, and then put it in a nicely presented package where even, you know, a 50-year-old grandma who doesn't know much about internet, you know, she can double-click this package and all of a sudden she's got a tunnel straight through the website. So I just think it's a dead end. I don't know, I don't see anything, I don't see it working, I just see it as a big waste of time. Yeah.
I have to agree with that one, Adam.
Yeah. So anyway, coming to the end of the show, so what I wanted to discuss was just an app of the day, if anything you found. So I wanted to kick off by saying I found an application on Lifehacker's website, which I found was really cool. I'll also put the link in description for you guys if you're interested. But essentially all it is, it's just an iPhone app you download. I'm not sure if it's Android, if it's cross-platform. I'm pretty sure it is. But basically you install it on your iMac or your MacBook or whatever it is, an OS X thing. And more or less you can create hotkeys and different actions. So you open this application, you've got a bunch of pre-assigned buttons there where you can perform certain actions on your Mac. So basically remotely you can control your PC at home and get it to do a whole bunch.
Oh, so this is like outside of your home network. So
it's
you're at work.
Your home
oh,
network.
inside.
I didn't actually
Got
investigate into the outside part, but I'm sure it can be done. But it's actually really cool. Like, I didn't think much of it initially, but once I started using it and like I was in another room and something was on my machine or whatever, I needed to do something or just, you know, unlock it or something like that, it's actually really cool. So
I'm sure would help if you don't want to get out of bed to flip your next movie on.
Saying I'm lazy. Yeah, so that's my app. So what did you find? Did you find anything cool?
Well, I was basically found it's a really nifty thing. I mean, Apples typically don't let you modify too much in terms of the look of things. You know, they usually have a particular look and they don't really let you modify it too much. But basically we've found a way to change the login screen of, this is particularly for Yosemite, the latest OS X. Yep. So, and it's, you know, it's fairly simple. It's just a terminal command. So for you guys who don't know, it's just like the back end of OS X, command driven. You're just basically changing a JPEG or a PNG file, an image on your computer, on your MacBook, and then you can get a fancy new login screen. A lot of people don't care about this sort of stuff, but for some of you, like, you know, I mean, skinning's a pretty big thing for a lot of people. So
excellent.
Yeah, the link will be in the descriptions.
Excellent.
Yeah. So
well, look, that's the end of the first show. I wanted to thank you guys for tuning in. I also wanted to thank Luke for coming in.
No worries,
thank
mate.
you very much. He took a real dive coming in, so I really appreciate him kicking off the show. But guys, please subscribe, like the video, and I hope you enjoyed it. And I'm sure we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
Peace. Today we're just going to have a bit of back and forth, a bit of banter, and you know, hopefully you guys like what we've got to say, and hopefully there's more to come.
Fuck. Hey, like and the background's not set up.
Oh,
remember?
Yeah. Okay. That's all right.
I just gotta have that.